Her world shattered in an instant. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the house as Jennifer watched in horror, clutching her children close. Their most precious family heirloom, a beautifully framed photo from their wedding day, now lay in pieces on the floor. And the culprits. The tyrannical HOA enforcers who just ransacked their home. But Jennifer refused to back down. As her lawyer stormed into the HOA office the next morning, a righteous battle was about to begin. Jennifer's heart pounded as she stared at the shattered glass and splintered frame on the hardwood floor. Her hands trembled as she gathered the remnants, trying in vain to piece them back together. This wasn't just a photo. It was a cherished memory, a symbol of the life she and her husband Matt had built together. And now it lay destroyed, at the hands of the very people who were supposed to be protecting their community. "Mommy, what happened?" her young daughter asked, eyes brimming with tears. Jennifer pulled her into a tight embrace, struggling to find the words. "It's okay, sweetie. Everything's going to be okay." But as she spoke the words, she felt a familiar sense of dread settling in the pit of her stomach. This was anything but okay. Just moments ago, two burly men in HOA uniforms had barged into their home, rummaging through their belongings and barking orders. Apparently, their beloved family photo had violated some obscure HOA regulation, a rule they'd never even heard of. And now, with a single swing of a baseball bat, their most precious keepsake was gone. "Those monsters," Matt growled, his face flushed with a mixture of shock and rage. "I'm calling the police." Jennifer placed a hand on his arm, stopping him. "No, we need to handle this the right way." Her eyes narrowed with determination. "I'm calling our lawyer." Within an hour, the family's attorney, Sarah, was rushing through the front door, her briefcase in hand. "Tell me everything," she demanded, her voice laced with urgency. Jennifer recounted the horrifying ordeal, her words punctuated by the sobs of her children. Matt chimed in, his fists clenched as he described the callous disregard the HOA enforcers had shown for their family's belongings. Sarah listened intently, her brow furrowed with concern. "This is an outrageous violation of your rights," she declared. "We're going to make them pay for this." The next morning, Sarah strode into the HOA office, her steely gaze cutting through the room like a razor. "My clients have been the victims of a despicable act of vandalism and trespassing," she began, her voice dripping with righteous indignation. "And I'm here to ensure that justice is served." The HOA president, a pompous man with a smug expression, tried to interrupt, but Sarah raised a hand, silencing him. "Save it. I have a court order demanding the immediate release of all surveillance footage from the incident, as well as a full accounting of the damages. If you so much as breathe a word of this to anyone, I'll have you all in handcuffs before sundown." The color drained from the president's face as he realized the gravity of the situation. Jennifer watched with a sense of vindication, knowing that the battle was only just beginning. This HOA had messed with the wrong family, and they were about to learn a hard lesson in the power of a mother's love and a lawyer's resolve. The HOA president's face grew ashen as Sarah's words sank in. He knew he and his fellow board members were in deep trouble. Slamming his fist on the table, he barked, "This is an outrage. We were just enforcing the rules. That tacky frame was an eyesore, and it had to go." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Tacky frame," she repeated, her voice dripping with disdain. "That tacky frame was a treasured family heirloom. It held a priceless memory for my clients, a symbol of the life they've built together. And you callously destroyed it, all because it didn't meet your petty standards." The HOA president opened his mouth to respond, but Sarah cut him off. "Save it. I have the court order right here." She slapped the document onto the table, the sound echoing through the tense silence. "You have 24 hours to provide the surveillance footage and a full accounting of the damages, or I'll be back with the police." The president's face twisted into a scowl, but he knew better than to argue. Snatching up the court order, He stormed out of the room, his lackeys hurrying behind him. Jennifer watched the exchange with a mix of relief and apprehension. While she was grateful for Sarah's swift action, she couldn't help but worry about the battles that still lay ahead. The HOA was clearly not going to back down without a fight, and she knew they would stop at nothing to protect their precious rules and their fragile egos. As they drove home, Jennifer squeezed Matt's hand, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. "I just can't believe they did this," she whispered, her voice trembling. "That photo meant everything to us." Matt pulled her close, his strong arms offering comfort. "I know, honey, but we're not going to let them get away with it. Sarah's going to make them pay for what they've done." Jennifer nodded, taking a deep breath. "You're right. We have to be strong, for the kids. This is our fight, and we're going to win." Later that evening, as the family gathered around the dinner table, the somber mood was palpable. The children, sensing their parents' distress, were uncharacteristically quiet, picking at their food with subdued expressions. Jennifer watched them, her heart aching. "Guys, I know this has been a really tough day," she said softly. "But I want you to know that Mommy and Daddy are going to do everything we can to make this right. We're not going to let those mean people get away with what they did." Her daughter's eyes lit up with a glimmer of hope. "Does that mean we're going to get our picture back?" Jennifer mustered a smile, reaching across the table to squeeze her daughter's hand. "Yes, sweetheart, that's exactly what it means." As the family finished their meal in contemplative silence, Jennifer couldn't help but wonder what other surprises the HOA had in store. But one thing was certain: they had picked the wrong family to mess with. With Sarah on their side, she knew they were ready to fight tooth and nail to reclaim what was rightfully theirs. The next morning, Jennifer and Matt anxiously awaited the arrival of the surveillance footage from the HOA. Sarah had promised it would be delivered by noon, and they were both eager and terrified to see the evidence of the previous day's traumatic events. As the clock struck 12, the doorbell rang, and Jennifer rushed to answer it. A courier stood on the porch, a large envelope in hand. "Delivery for the Saunders family," he announced, handing her the package. Jennifer's heart pounded as she carried the envelope into the living room, where Matt and Sarah were waiting. "This is it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Sarah wasted no time in tearing open the envelope and extracting the USB drive inside. "Let's take a look," she said, her expression unreadable. The family gathered around the TV as Sarah inserted the drive and pulled up the footage. The images that flashed across the screen were both chilling and enraging. There, in stark detail, was the moment the HOA enforcers had stormed into their home, barging through the front door and immediately making a beeline for the family photo. One of the men, a burly, bald-headed individual, could be seen grabbing the frame and swinging his baseball bat with a sickening crunch, shattering the glass and splintering the wood. Jennifer gasped, her hand flying to her mouth as she watched the scene unfold. Matt's face contorted with fury, and even the children let out muffled cries of distress. Sarah's jaw tightened, her eyes narrowing with determination. "This is all the evidence we need," she said, pausing the footage. "Now let's talk strategy." Over the next few hours, the family huddled with their lawyer, mapping out a plan of attack. Sarah outlined their legal options, from filing a civil lawsuit to pursuing criminal charges against the HOA members. "We have a strong case," she assured them. "The footage clearly shows a deliberate and malicious act of destruction. And the fact that they barged into your home without a warrant or just cause only strengthens our position." Jennifer nodded, her mind racing with a whirlwind of emotions. "What about the frame itself?" she asked. "Can we get a replacement, or is it gone forever?" Sarah offered a reassuring smile. "We'll do everything in our power to either recover the original frame or have an identical one commissioned. This isn't just about the material object. It's about the sentimental value and the violation of your family's privacy and property rights." Matt squeezed Jennifer's hand, his eyes alight with a steely determination. "We're not going to let them get away with this," he said, his voice low and resolute. "This is our fight, and we're going to win." Jennifer nodded, her own resolve hardening. "You're right. This is our family, our home, and our memories, and we're going to do whatever it takes to protect them." As the afternoon faded into evening, the Saunders family knew that the battle had only just begun. But with Sarah in their corner and the weight of justice on their side, they were more determined than ever to emerge victorious. The days that followed were a flurry of activity as the Saunders family and their lawyer, Sarah, prepared their case against the HOA. The surveillance footage had provided the critical evidence they needed, but there were still many hurdles to overcome. First, they had to formally file a civil lawsuit, outlining the grievances and demanding both monetary compensation and the return of the family's treasured photo frame. This was no easy task, as the HOA had an army of lawyers at their disposal, all eager to bury the Saunders family in a mountain of red tape. "They're trying to wear us down," Sarah explained during one of their strategy sessions. "But we can't let them. We have to keep the pressure on and show them that we're not going to back down." Jennifer nodded, her brow furrowed with determination. "We have to win this, Sarah. Not just for us, but for our kids. They've been through enough, and I won't let those HOA bullies take anything else from us." Matt reached across the table, squeezing his wife's hand. "We're in this together, honey. No matter what happens, we're going to fight this thing to the end." The next step was gathering witness statements and additional evidence to bolster their case. The Saunders family spent countless hours compiling a detailed timeline of events, as well as reaching out to neighbors who had also experienced the HOA's heavy-handed tactics. "It's not just about our family," Jennifer said, her voice laced with a mixture of anger and resolve. "This is about standing up for the entire community. We can't let the HOA continue to run roughshod over everyone's rights." As the legal battle raged on, the Saunders family faced another challenge: the relentless harassment from the HOA. They received threatening letters demanding that they drop the lawsuit and pay hefty fines for their supposed violations. Jennifer and Matt found themselves constantly on edge, worried about their children's safety and the future of their beloved home. But through it all, they remained steadfast, taking comfort in the support of their community and the unwavering dedication of their lawyer, Sarah. "This is a David and Goliath story," Sarah declared during a court hearing, her voice echoing through the halls of the courthouse. "But make no mistake, the Saunders family is not going to back down. They're fighting for their rights, their memories, and their very way of life. And with the evidence on our side, we're going to win." As the judge listened intently, Jennifer squeezed Matt's hand, a glimmer of hope sparking in her eyes. They had come this far, and they weren't about to give up now. The HOA had made a grave mistake in crossing the Saunders family, and they were about to learn a hard lesson in the power of a united front and an unwavering spirit. The courtroom was tense as the Saunders family and the HOA representatives took their seats, their lawyers at the ready. Jennifer felt a familiar knot of anxiety in the pit of her stomach, but she squeezed Matt's hand, drawing strength from his calm presence. Sarah stood and cleared her throat, her gaze unwavering as she addressed the judge. "Your Honor, the evidence in this case is clear and unambiguous. The actions taken by the HOA were a flagrant violation of the Saunders family's rights, both as homeowners and as human beings." She gestured to the surveillance footage that had been submitted as evidence. "As you can see, the HOA enforcers barged into the Saunders home without cause or warrant, and then proceeded to deliberately destroy a cherished family heirloom, a photo that held deep sentimental value for this family." The HOA's lawyer, a slick-looking man in an expensive suit, rose to his feet. "Your Honor, the Saunders family is simply trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. The frame in question was an unsightly eyesore that violated our community's standards. The HOA was simply doing its job in enforcing the rules." Sarah scoffed, her eyes narrowing. "Your Honor, The rules in question are nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to maintain an arbitrary standard of conformity. This family's home is their own, and they have the right to display whatever they choose without fear of having their possessions destroyed. The judge listened intently, his brow furrowed in concentration. Finally, he raised a hand, silencing the lawyers. I've heard enough. This is a clear-cut case of abuse of power and willful destruction of private property. Jennifer felt a surge of hope as the judge's words sank in. Could they really have won? The Saunders family is entitled to full restitution for the damaged photo frame, as well as compensation for the emotional distress caused by this incident. The judge's gaze swept across the room, his expression stern. Furthermore, I'm issuing a restraining order against the HOA, prohibiting any further harassment or unlawful entry into the Saunders home. A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom, and Jennifer felt tears of relief and joy welling in her eyes. They had done it. They had stood up to the HOA bullies and won. As the judge dismissed the case, Sarah approached the Saunders family, a broad smile on her face. I told you we'd make them pay for what they did, she said, her voice brimming with pride. Jennifer pulled her into a tight hug, her heart overflowing with gratitude. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for fighting for us, for never giving up. Matt joined the embrace, his eyes shining with a mixture of relief and triumph. This is just the beginning, he said, his voice low and resolute. We're not done with the HOA yet. The Saunders family walked out of the courthouse, their heads held high. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. The HOA would not go down without a fight, and the Saunders family was more determined than ever to protect their home, their family, and their cherished memories. The Saunders family's victory in court was a bittersweet one. While they were relieved and grateful for the judge's ruling, they knew that the battle with the HOA was far from over. As they returned home, they were greeted by a scene of utter chaos. Their lawn was littered with flyers and angry messages, all bearing the HOA's seal. Traitors, read one, while another proclaimed, This isn't over. Jennifer's heart sank as she gathered the discarded papers, her hands trembling. They're not going to give up, are they? She said, her voice barely above a whisper. Matt pulled her into a comforting embrace. We knew this wasn't going to be easy, he replied, his tone resolute. But we're not backing down. Not now, not ever. The family spent the rest of the day fortifying their home, reinforcing the locks and installing additional security cameras. Sarah had warned them that the HOA might retaliate, and they were determined to be prepared. As night fell, the Saunders huddled together in the living room, the dim glow of the television casting shadows across their faces. The children, exhausted from the day's events, had fallen asleep, their small bodies curled up on the couch. Jennifer watched them with a heavy heart, her fingers gently tracing the outline of their faces. I never thought we'd have to fight like this, she whispered to Matt. This is supposed to be our home, our safe haven. Matt reached out, taking her hand in his. I know, honey, but we're not going to let them take that away from us. We're in this together, no matter what. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the backyard, followed by the sound of shattering glass. The Saunders family froze, their hearts pounding as they exchanged a terrified glance. Stay here with the kids, Matt whispered, his voice laced with determination. He grabbed a baseball bat and cautiously made his way towards the source of the commotion, Jennifer close behind him. As they rounded the corner, they were met with a chilling sight. The HOA enforcers, their faces obscured by masks, were ransacking their backyard, tearing down the newly installed security cameras. What the hell do you think you're doing? Matt shouted, his grip tightening on the bat. The men turned, their eyes gleaming with malice. You think a little restraining order is going to stop us? One of them growled. This is our neighborhood, and we'll do whatever it takes to keep it in line. Jennifer felt a surge of panic, but she refused to back down. You're not welcome here, she said, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and defiance. Get off our property, or we'll call the police." The men laughed, their laughter echoing through the night. "Go ahead, call the cops," another one sneered. "We've got the whole town in our pocket. They won't do a thing." As the Saunders family stood their ground, a sudden realization dawned on them. The HOA was playing a dangerous game, one that threatened to tear their community apart. But they were determined to win, no matter the cost. With renewed resolve, they vowed to expose the HOA's corruption and fight for the rights of every homeowner in their neighborhood. This was their home, and they would defend it with every fiber of their being. The Saunders family knew they were in for the fight of their lives. The HOA had crossed a line, and they were more determined than ever to take them down. After the late-night confrontation in their backyard, Jennifer and Matt knew they couldn't rely on the authorities for help. The HOA had already made it clear that they had the entire town in their pocket, and the police would be of little use. "We have to take this into our own hands," Matt said, his eyes burning with determination. "They want a war, and that's exactly what they're going to get." Jennifer nodded, her mind racing with a plan. "We need to rally the community," she said, her voice firm. "If we can get everyone on our side, we might just have a chance of taking these bastards down." Over the next few days, the Saunders family worked tirelessly, reaching out to their neighbors and organizing a grassroots movement against the HOA. They hosted community meetings, shared the surveillance footage, and encouraged their fellow homeowners to join the fight. To their surprise, the response was overwhelming. One by one, families came forward, sharing their own stories of HOA harassment and abuse. The community was united in their determination to put an end to the HOA's tyrannical rule. "This isn't just about one family anymore," Sarah declared during a town hall meeting. "This is about the rights of every single person in this neighborhood. And we're not going to stop until we expose the truth and held the HOA accountable for their actions." The Saunders family knew that the road ahead would be long and arduous, but they were more than ready to take on the challenge. They had already tasted victory in the courtroom, and they were determined to replicate that success on a larger scale. As the community's efforts gained momentum, the HOA grew increasingly desperate. They tried to intimidate the Saunders family, sending threatening letters and even vandalizing their property once again. But this time, the family was prepared, and they refused to be cowed. "We're not going anywhere," Jennifer said, her voice ringing with conviction. "This is our home, our community, and we're going to fight for it until the very end." The battle lines had been drawn, and the Saunders family was more determined than ever to emerge victorious. With the support of their neighbors and the unwavering guidance of their lawyer, they were ready to take on the HOA and win back their right to live in peace and security. As the sun set on another day of planning and strategizing, the Saunders family knew that the final showdown was looming on the horizon. They were ready to face it head-on, united in their cause and unbreakable in their resolve. The day of the showdown had arrived, and the Saunders family and their fellow community members gathered in the town square, their resolve as firm as the ground they stood on. Jennifer scanned the crowd, her eyes reflecting the determination that had fueled their battle against the HOA. Matt stood by her side, his hand gripping hers tightly, a silent testament to the unbreakable bond that held their family together. As the HOA representatives stepped forward, their expressions a mixture of arrogance and thinly veiled unease, Sarah took the stage, her voice commanding the attention of everyone present. "Citizens of this community," she began, her gaze sweeping across the sea of faces before her. "We are here today to expose the truth, to hold the HOA accountable for their crimes, and to reclaim our rightful place as the masters of our own homes and neighborhoods." A chorus of cheers and applause erupted from the crowd, drowning out the nervous shuffling of the HOA members. Sarah raised a hand, silencing the crowd. "We have gathered irrefutable evidence of the HOA's unlawful practices, their blatant disregard for our rights, and their shameless attempts to intimidate and silence us." With a dramatic flourish, she revealed a stack of documents, each one detailing a litany of transgressions committed by the HOA. These are the testimonies of your fellow neighbors, the proof of the HOA's corruption and abuse of power. The HOA president, his face now etched with a growing sense of panic, tried to interject, but Sarah silenced him with a raised hand. Save it. Your time is up. The people have spoken, and they demand justice. As the crowd roared its approval, the Saunders family stepped forward, their heads held high. Jennifer, her eyes shining with a mixture of pride and resolve, addressed the crowd. This is not just about our family and our broken heirloom. This is about the future of our community, the sanctity of our homes, and the inalienable rights that we all hold dear. She paused, her gaze sweeping across the sea of faces before her. We will not back down. We will not surrender. We will fight, for as long as it takes, to ensure that the HOA's reign of terror comes to an end. This is our home, our family, our legacy. And we will defend it, no matter the cost. The crowd erupted in a thunderous ovation, their cheers and applause echoing through the streets. The HOA representatives, their faces now etched with defeat, skulked away, their once formidable power crumbling before the united front of the Saunders family and their community. As the sun set on that momentous day, the Saunders family stood together, their hearts filled with a sense of triumph and renewed hope. They had weathered the storm, faced the darkness, and emerged victorious, not just for themselves, but for every family in their neighborhood. And as they gathered the remnants of their precious family photo, carefully reassembling the frame, they knew that this was more than just a symbol of their past. It was a testament to their resilience, a reminder of the power of community, and a promise of a brighter future, one that they would continue to fight for, no matter what challenges lay ahead.